Hello lovelies, this is part 2 of my previous story, The Testosterone Divide.
Matthew returned home after his testosterone checkup, his mind spinning with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. He closed the door behind him and slumped onto the couch, his nervous energy causing his hands to tremble. Thoughts raced through his mind, contemplating what the results would reveal about his future. Was he really going to transition into a female? His mind was so focused on his future, he barely heard the buzz of the doorbell. It was his best friend David. David entered the room with a sense of confidence and purpose. He was physically larger and exuding an alpha male presence. David had already begun his testosterone conditioning, easily meeting and exceeding the threshold. He was well on his way to embracing his role as a protector and embodying the masculine ideals set by society. "Hey Maddie, I heard what happened. How are you?" Matthew opened his mouth to speak, standing up slowly from the couch, but he felt weak. His knees and lips shook a little. Seeing Matthew's distress, David walked over and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. He then moved closer into a hug. "Hey, Matt, take a deep breath. You've got this," he reassured, offering a comforting smile. "Whatever the results are, I'm here for you." Matthew looked at David, an unspoken barrier seemed to now exist between them. They had been best friends since boyhood, always on the same teams, doing everything together. With the news of their varying levels of masculinity clinically revealed, a chasm seemed to have developed between them. Matthew wanted to cling to the similarities they shared, but he felt the chasm would only widen with each passing day. A small part of him was pushing him to embrace the widening difference between them. His eyes glanced at the wide shape of David's shoulders. He felt a twinge of longing he didn't understand. They sat back down on the couch. Matthew went over the events of the day as David nodded slowly. "You know, Matt," David began, his voice tinged with nervousness, "I've been wondering what you would be like as a female. I mean, I understood half of us would probably have to transition anyway. I never really thought you would be one to become female. But after I heard the news, it's like I couldn't stop thinking about it." Matthew's cheeks reddened as he shyly met David's gaze. "I've thought about it too," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. They stared into each other's eyes. The room was quiet. Matthew couldn't help remember what his mother had told him this morning, before he left for the clinic. "You know, Maddie, all the alpha guys will come out of the woodwork. You will get a lot of attention. It can be intoxicating, or you will absolutely hate it. How you feel about it will probably be your best indicator on what you are inside. Listen to those feelings." Matthew felt David's gaze on him. He had never looked at his best friend this way. "You know, if you became a female, I think I'd find you attractive." Matthew felt himself tremble. Then suddenly he stood up. "I need to get up early tomorrow. The results, I'm sorry," he stammered, moving quickly to the door. David did the same, looking embarrassed. "Sorry, I shouldn't have said that." "No, it's okay. I have to confess I have wondered that too. All day in fact." David stopped outside the door. "You know, my dad said that your parents were on the same basketball team together. They were like best buddies. Then your mom transitioned. It's normal and okay." Matthew nodded. Even 20 years later his parents could barely keep their hands off each other. His mother was very happy with her female life, and his dad was very, very happy with his female wife. "I just need to get my head around everything," he said with a shy smile, and closed the door. Matthew's heart was pounding in his chest as he sat at the doctor's office. He was filled with a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. Dr. Williams, the kind and understanding physician from last time, greeted him with a warm smile, sensing Matthew's unease. "Welcome back, Matthew. How have you been since our last visit?" Dr. Williams asked, his voice calm and soothing. Matthew fidgeted in his seat, his anxiety evident. "I've been anxious, to be honest. I've been thinking a lot about the results," he confessed, his voice trembling slightly. Dr. Williams nodded empathetically. "It's completely understandable, Matthew. Waiting for the results can be overwhelming. But remember, we're here to support you through this process." With a gentle yet steady voice, Dr. Williams continued. "Okay, I won't keep you in suspense. Based on your testosterone level check, the results show that you're at 76% recommended female." Matthew's eyes widened in surprise. He hadn't anticipated such a high percentage. He struggled to comprehend what it meant for his future. 76%? That's higher than I expected, he stammered, his mind racing with questions. The test does not just look at testosterone levels, that's a popular misconception. A number of factors like brain scans, bone structure, facial features and of course psychology are taken into consideration. He pointed at the numbers on his screen. Your brain scans show an above-average inclination for female pursuits, including what we term as maternal and nurturing instincts. There are also a number of more practical features like the structure of your face and your hips, which are more suited to feminine characteristics. Finally, we also look for a particular marker known as masculine compatibility. Yours is rated at 95%. Masculine compatibility? Matthew asked softly, a little confused. It's a marker which relates to how attractive you find typical masculine characteristics like leadership, aggressiveness, and dominance. A lot of the most successful females score very low in these characteristics themselves, but find them very attractive in their mates. Basically, opposites attract. Dr. Williams smiles. You are meant to be a woman, Matthew. Matthew covered his face with his palms. He took a deep breath. Dr. Williams leaned forward, his expression filled with compassion. Matthew, these percentages aren't meant to make you feel ashamed or humiliated, but they do indicate a high likelihood of happiness and success after transitioning into a female. It's crucial that you take the time to reflect and come to terms with the next stage of your life. Matthew nodded, trying to absorb the doctor's words. He felt a little lightheaded. But what steps would I need to take? He asked finally, his voice tinged with both curiosity and apprehension. Dr. Anita is your assigned transition expert. She will go over all the details with you. Let me get you her details. As Matthew prepared to leave the office, the doctor's parting words caught his attention. One more thing, Matthew. Have you considered a new name that resonates with your true self? It's a personal choice, but many individuals find it helpful to decide early, as they embark on this transformative journey. Matthew's eyes widened as he contemplated the idea. A new name, a fresh start. It both excited and intimidated him. After a moment of reflection, he whispered, I think I'll go with Amelia, he said, feeling a sense of empowerment in claiming a name that felt right for the woman he was becoming. Dr. Williams nodded, pleased with Matthew's choice. Amelia suits you beautifully, he said, his tone filled with encouragement. Remember, Amelia, this is your story, and you have the power to shape it. Take your time, trust yourself, and embrace the journey. Matthew lay in bed, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The events of the day danced through his consciousness, leaving behind traces of excitement and nervous anticipation. As the soft sheets embraced his body, he closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep. In the dream, Matthew found himself already transformed into a woman. Amelia fully realized. Her body, a celebration of femininity, radiated with a captivating allure. Long, flowing blonde tresses cascaded down her shoulders, framing a face adorned with delicate features and eyes brimming with anticipation. Soft curves accentuated her figure, each curve an expression of grace and sensuality. She found herself in a sanctuary of love, a room bathed in the warm golden glow of candles. The air hummed with a palpable energy, a promise of intimacy and connection. Her wedding bed, a haven of desire, stood at the center, adorned with satin sheets and scattered rose petals. It awaited the arrival of a man. As she reclined on the bed, her heart fluttered with a mixture of anticipation and longing. Her breath quickened, and her body hummed with a yearning that only deepened as moments passed. She felt a gentle shiver run down her spine, an embodiment of the anticipation that coursed through her veins. Her warm excitement felt different to anything she had felt before, a heated glow inside the lower half of her belly, a need that could only be sated by a man. And then, as if on cue, the door opened, and there he stood, her husband, a huge dark figure in the doorway hidden by the low light of the room. His eyes met hers, and the room seemed to melt away, leaving only the two of them in a universe woven with love and desire. The depth of his gaze ignited a fire within her, making the warmth in her belly surge. The figure approached with a confident yet gentle stride, his eyes locked on hers. As he reached the edge of the bed, he extended a hand, his touch an invitation into a world of intimacy. With trepidation and excitement intermingled, she reached out and stood, allowing their fingers to interlace. Their bodies gravitated toward each other, as if drawn by an invisible force. His hands, rough yet tender, caressed her cheek, tracing the outline of her jaw with a feather-light touch. She felt her pulse quicken, her skin ablaze with a newfound sensitivity. Lips met in a gentle, tentative kiss, a fusion of vulnerability and desire. The taste of him, mingled with the taste of dreams soon to be fulfilled, stirred something deep within her. As their kiss deepened, his hands roamed with a hunger that only intensified as he discovered the soft new contours and curves of her form. Her upper body, adorned with the softness of lace, pressed against his chest, igniting sparks of pleasure and aching desire. Clothing fell away like fragile barriers, revealing the beauty of their bodies in the darkness. Warm skin brushed against warm skin. The man's hands explored the new contours of her, his touch awakening every nerve, tracing pathways of pleasure along her curves. Suddenly he spoke, his voice a low command. Increase lighting 10 times. More candles sprung to life. His voice had activated the command to flood the room with 100 more soft golden lights. The room was now bathed in light, bearing her beautiful secrets to his eyes. They ran slowly down her body, no darkness to hide behind anymore. Her own eyes ran upwards, finally seeing and recognizing the face of her new husband. "David," she cried. Suddenly Matthew found himself back in his bed, the remnants of desire still lingering on his skin. His heart raced, and a smile played upon his lips. In the depths of his soul, he held on to the dream, knowing that one day, his reality would mirror that exquisite moment of love and fulfillment. He stood up suddenly, letting the covers on the bed fall away. Underneath he was dressed in a bra and panties, they were green and delicate. The color of the new female fertility, not the pink of days gone by. The moonlight streamed into his bedroom as he stood and looked at his slender frame. He pulled out his communication device and held it at arm's length. "Take selfie," he said aloud, and the device obeyed. A picture of him appeared on the screen. He typed out the words underneath, adding a message to the photo. "Hi David, my name is Amelia." He then hit send.